Hi guys, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com, and today I'm really excited to show you the brand new Godox AD1200 Pro. This is a 1200 watt second light, fully compatible with TTL, high-speed sync, and the complete Strobepro and Godox lineup of controllers and other strobes. We've got a lot of new features in this light. It's a pack and head system, so a little bit different than other strobes you might be used to. Comes in a cool new bag. So let's get inside, take a look what it's all about. So this is an awesome new bag that comes with every Godox AD1200 kit. But I'm going to show you the actual features of the bag in a second here, but let's open it up and see what's in each kit first of all. So in the front pocket here, you're going to have your manuals and stuff. I won't take those out right now. But in the main compartment, we have our bag within a bag, and this actually houses the control pack. So nice thing about this one is it's vented and everything. We've got a clear window on the top. We'll take a closer look in a minute as well. But just to give you a quick sneak peek, there's the control unit contained in this nice heavy-duty protective box. So from there, we've got a couple more things. This is actually the strap that goes with that bag. Then we've got our 1200 watt strobe with the reflector and protective cap on there. And then we've got our very powerful battery for the 1200 as well. There's a couple more things in the bag. We've got extra dividers and stuff. So let's take a look at what's included with the bag now. So because you're making an investment in a professional series light, you need a professional series bag to go along with it to protect it whenever you're traveling with it. And because this light is most likely going to be used outdoors, we've included this bag that's going to be able to wheel when you need it to with a handle, or you can throw on the shoulder straps and carry it around. So in the front here, let's just take a look before we actually open up the bag. We've got two hidden zippers there. So in here, we've got our rain cover, which will go on the outside of the bag. Pretty self-explanatory. It's just got an elastic, basically, that tensions around it. And then up in this one, it's just an extra pocket. It's a nice deep pocket if you want to throw your cell phone or whatever inside there as well. On the side here, we have kind of our business end of the bag, which is going to allow you to put your laptop in there. If you've got file folders, you know, paper and stuff you want to keep in here. This opens up full length, so you could usually put up to a 17-inch laptop in there. But in there right now, we have a whole bunch of extra dividers. So when this comes packed with the actual 1200 inside of here, you're probably not going to be using a lot of these. But this actually doubles as a fantastic camera bag. So if you want to fine tune this by putting camera bodies and everything in there, you can certainly do that. Also inside there, we've got another sleeve right here, and we've actually got like a thing for our keys. We've got an extra zippered pocket in there as well. So a lot of functional space inside that side zipper. So if we go to the back here, on the top we've got this zipper which opens up, and this is our handle inside of there. So we've got it sealed as well, so it's not going to get water if you're getting rained on. Basically you just open up that Velcro, and then we've got the actual handle right in the top. We push the button, and this is going to slide right up here, which allows you to wheel this. So if you're going through the airport or just taking it from your car to the set, it's a fantastic heavy duty handle. It's easy to collapse as well. Push the button and it's going to slide down. We can Velcro that back up and seal that up when it's not in use. Now we know a lot of you are going to be using this 1200 watt Pro on location. In Alberta here, a lot of people love going to the backcountry. We've got a lot of ski photographers that have been asking for something like this with this power to be able to capture high-speed sync, you know, guys going over jumps and that kind of thing. So you can easily hike in with this bag as well. If we open up the back here, we've got our straps. So we would take those straps out, then bring the zipper back up to the top here, and then all we're doing is just bringing this hook down on both sides, and then just clipping it into the bottom. And now we've got a shoulder strap that we can easily hike in if we need to with this bag. Over on the side here, we've got a top clip strap here, which disconnects. If you've got a shorter tripod or even longer tripods, we've actually got the pocket here. So you can put the one end of the tripod in there and then put it up. On the other end, we've got, I would say, using this for stands as well, but you could use it for tripod, just depending what fits in there. Same thing, so you can loosen this off, tighten down the straps as necessary there, and give you an easy way to carry some extra stands and tripods. I should mention that these are urethane wheels, which is nice because it's really annoying when a bag is super loud when it rolls, but this is going to roll silently because of the urethane wheels. We've also got a nice top handle here as well. We've got a bottom handle, and this is all plastic on the bottom, so when you're beating it against a curb, you know, carrying it upstairs, this is what usually takes the most damage. So you're not going to have to worry too much about damaging your bag or the actual contents inside of it. Easy to get in and out of the car as well. So when I open up the bag again, one of the nice things I like about this is the heavy duty zippers. And I also like the fact that the bag is opening all the way to the end. I hate bags that only open like halfway. This is going to allow you full length to see what's inside there. Then we've got our extra dividers. If we were using this for like camera bodies and lenses, we can unpack this Velcro here, and it's a little bit tricky, but I can adjust this wherever I want, just stick it in, and we can do different kind of configurations. We've got our long dividers, and obviously this isn't where I would put it, but we've got our short dividers here as well, and so we can manipulate this to however we want. We've got tons of dividers, so we've got an extra 6 short ones, and then we've got the 2 long ones as well. So a quick mention about the inside flap here. We've got 2 large waterproof pockets, which is really nice. So if you wanted to put hard drives or something in there that you want just 100% secure from the elements, those are great pockets for them. We've got a couple smaller pockets up here that would work great for storing your memory cards, and it's nice the Velcro goes all the way across, so you're not going to have like cards slip out of the corners or anything as well. So basically, guys, that's the bag. I know that's a lot of information. We haven't even got into the light yet, but I just wanted to show you that because it is a really nice bag. I would say this is kind of quality-wise, it's up there with the top name brands for bags, and especially because you have the roller feature. Got the backpack feature. This thing is really all you need to carry this 1200, or if you want to convert it into a camera bag, you really can't go wrong with that either. So we've got one more bag to show you that comes in every kit, and that is the pack bag. So same kind of quality as the main bag. We've got a couple vented ports because the pack does generate heat. Obviously it's 1200 watt seconds, so it will get hot. So this is great actually if you want to attach this to a stand, because you've got your shoulder strap here that comes with it, and we just clip on, and they're nice heavy duty clips as well. So you can kind of use this to weight down your stand if you wanted. Just take the strap and we can adjust the length, hook it onto your stand, and then it's going to actually work as a counterweight for you, so your light stand's not going to tip over. But in a lot of cases you might not want to use that, which is no problem, just to show you can actually see what's going on the screen inside of there. But for this video, we're obviously going to take this guy out of there and deal with the pack without that on right now. So let's take a look at the outside of the pack system here. I just want you to know that everything about this 1200 is built heavy duty. This is professional grade. It is on par with the most expensive pack and head systems that you can buy. We've got our metal body here. We've got a really nice rubber dampener around the top and around the bottom as well. And the bottom is even recessed, so when you set this outside, you're not going to be scraping up the bottom of it as well, which is really nice. It's just got, you know, nice rubber handle on the inside of it. It just feels very quality. You're not going to be disappointed with the build of this. I think it's one of the nicest products that Godox has ever put out, actually. I just wanted to mention a couple things about the battery before we really get into the details. If you are planning to travel on airline with this, you really need to take some precautions and plan ahead. Because this is over 100 watt hours, it's nearly double that actually, you cannot check this on most airlines, and you can't bring it on as carry-on as well. You need to double check with your airline what the regulations allow, and even for air shipping for us from Strobepro to you, this cannot be air shipped without an extremely expensive process of going through different regulations. So these will always be ground shipped when we're shipping them in North America, and we actually won't ship these worldwide. So not to scare you off, it's just a high capacity battery, and you always want to take precautions, and especially the airlines lately have really been cracking down on that. So just be prepared when you are traveling with this 1200 Pro. So all of that being said, to scare you off, Godox is going to be releasing a lower capacity battery that you can fly with. Now, here's the trade-off. This battery that comes with your kit right now will fire this flash up to 500 times on a single charge. The smaller capacity battery is going to be up to 200 times on a charge, so you're losing more than half your capacity, but you could take probably multiples of those. So when that's released, you can look into that a little bit more, but again, just check with your airline to be certain. So before we install our battery, we want to make sure that it is charged up, and I forgot to mention that this is actually included in your kit as well. Obviously is the charger, and there's two pieces to that, the actual charger brick and then the main connection here. So you're just going to plug that in, and then on the battery we've got looks like an old S-video connection right here, and we're just going to take that and then plug in and charge our battery. Now this battery from dead to full power takes 3 hours to charge. Could vary a little bit based on temperature, but that's actually pretty quick for the capacity of this battery. You'll know you're fully charged as well because you've got an indicator right here. So if we push this little button, a lot of people don't realize that this is actually a button. So we can push it just with our fingernail there, and those are going to light up, and you'll see how much capacity that you have in there. In the manual, it shows you what each light indicates. So if you have full bars, it means 75 to 100%. 3 bars is going to be 50 to 75, and so on. If you're on the last bar, you need to get this thing charged because you're between 3 and 10%. So you'd want to get it charged. Now on this battery, if you want to carry it around, there's actually an integrated handle here. You might be wondering, how do I get that out? All you do is push the latch down, the handle's going to pop out, and you can actually carry this battery around if needed. But this is more for installing it and removing it from the actual pack and head system. So on here, we're going to just basically line up the contacts here, and you will see that just slide directly inside there, and it's going to lock directly in. And to get it out, first of all, what we need to do is pull that little lever up, which is going to pop the handle. And don't tug on the handle there, because you need to pull the switch up again. So once you release it, then you use the handle to slide up the actual battery as well and remove it. So let's put that guy back in, and then we'll look at connecting the actual strobe. Let's take a quick look at the 1200 head here. This is a 1200 watt second flash tube contained inside of here. And this is a Bowens mount directly head, so you don't have to use any adapters or anything. Very similar to like the AD1200 Pro. It's just going to look a little bit bigger and have a different connection here. But we've still got a stepless handle on here, which is really nice, so you can put that in any position that you want. Lock it down securely. We've got our button on our handle, so we can move that out of the way if we needed to. Our umbrella mount right on the side there, so you can just slide that right through. And then we've got our main release. I should just mention we do have a protective cap on here, and as always, before you plug this thing in or do anything, what you want to do is take that off, especially with the 1200 watt head. You are going to melt this very, very quickly. So that is only for traveling. Make sure you take it off before you do anything. Every kit is going to come with this reflector as well. And this is compatible on our other lights like our 600 as well, which is nice. And here is the big boy right here, 1200 watts of flash power. We have our dome diffusion built in right there, which is vented to protect the tube as well. And we actually have our 40-watt modeling lamp built in there. So this is the most powerful modeling lamp we've ever had on an actual strobe. So if you did need to use this for some short video, you can do that. It's going to be very powerful, enable you to find your shadows and where your softboxes and umbrellas and everything are pointing. This metal part here is basically just our venting on the actual head, but the main cooling and stuff is done in the pack because the capacitors and everything are not contained in here. It is fully Bowens compatible, which means all of our Strobepro modifiers and everything are going to fit directly to this. No adapters required, which is really nice. Just line up the prongs. So we have our 3 prongs on the actual modifier, and then line them up to the receiver here. Give them a quarter turn and they lock in. And again, just to take that off, we just pull that back and straight out. One of the new things you're going to see about this connection is this guy right here. To me, this looks like our forklift that we use in the warehouse when we power that thing up. But because this is drawing so much power, it needs a new connection. You're going to see this thick cable here. So you're not going to have any power loss going from the head to the pack. I should mention that there is a fan in the back of the head as well as in the pack. Now these are not going to run silent because it's not designed to be used for video really, even though there is a modeling lamp in it. So most of the time this is going to be outside or in the studio and you're shooting stills, so the fan noise doesn't really matter. Just be aware of that. When you plug it in, you will hear some fan noise. So on the pack we have the port to plug into, and this is directional. So we've got a square end down here and we've got the round end up here. So same as our battery connection on the head. And we've got a little tab on the front. This tab needs to go under the front part here, because if you try to just go straight in, it's not going to go in there. So you just want to put a little bit of tilt so it goes under, and then you can flatten it back out and then just push it down. You're going to hear it click in there. It's secured. I don't have to worry about that. To release it, we go to our silver clip underneath there, and I'm just going to push the silver clip and then just pull straight up. So again, make sure the front tab goes under and then you can flatten it out, push down and straight in. You don't want to be rocking that back and forth because you don't want to damage the connections between the head and the pack. Okay guys, we're going to put the pack on the stand and mount the head here as well. And I've put it back in the bag. So like I said earlier, that you can actually use this as a counterweight. It's got a decent amount of weight to it. So I could hang it on the back as a counterbalance on my boom. But for now, I'm just going to hook it on right here just to get it out of my way and have my hands free. And you can actually zip this up. You would need to turn the power on first of all. I would usually just leave it open. It just gives you a little bit more venting as well. But you can decide what you want to do there. The cable on your head actually has this little Velcro tie. So you're just going to need to undo that. And you don't want to lose these because they're actually nice to have. So you could put it back in the bag just so you don't misplace it. Now from there, we're going to mount it to our special edition, our Black Sea stand here. This is a great light stand for this because it allows you to get it up boomed. And this is mounted just the exact same way that any other light is mounted. So you back off the screw here. One of the nice things about Strobepro stands, in this boom particularly, is that they have flat-ended spigots. So what that does is it prevents any strobe from twisting when it's on there. So the flat part is actually over here. You can't see it right now, but what I want to do is line up the mounting screw with that flat side. And actually I'm just going to double check. Yeah, it's right over here. And once that goes on there, we're just going to tighten it down. And now I know that I'm not going to get any twist going this way from side to side when I put a modifier on there and I want to adjust it. It's locked into position. I can take the handle now. I can adjust this wherever I want it, lock it in place. And if this handle happens to be in the way, I just push it like that. And I'm not actually loosening it there. I'm just moving the handle out of the way. Now we can add a modifier, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So first thing we need to do is take off the included reflector here, and this is our release. It just slides back and forth, really easy. If you've taken off any Strobepro or Bowens modifier before, you know exactly what to do. and we'll just set that aside right now. Now I'm going to grab the new 32-inch Rapid Pro globe. I know this thing looks weird, but it's really cool for environmental portraits, so check out our full video on that. And to do that, I'm just going to open this up so I can get kind of a grip on it here. And all I'm doing is lining up the Bowens mount here, so the 3 prongs with the 3 receiving prongs on here. So I don't know exactly where they're at. I'll just try to line it up. And once I see it going flush like that, I'm just going to give it a quarter turn. And you see the lock move down and it clicked into place. And now we're ready to tighten that back up and turn on our strobe. So we're all mounted up here and we've got the AD1200 Pro turned on. And I can turn on the modeling lamp directly from my controller here. So this is our 40-watt LED modeling lamp, which is the most powerful one we've ever put into a light. And it's lighting up this big modifier really nicely, even with the room lights on. So another great thing about a 1200 watt second flash is that it makes a fantastic sound. If you've never heard one of these, it gives you a jarring sound kind of, it just really pops. And you definitely don't want to be looking directly at that when you are test firing or making sure you're syncing up your controller. So I'll just be quiet here and you can hear it fire off. And it's taking about 2 seconds to recycle. There you go. So it recycles extremely fast for a 1200 watt second light. And again, if I was going lower power, like if I lower this down to minimum power here, like this thing is going to recycle so fast, faster than I can push the button here. So it has absolutely no problem keeping up with the fastest you can fire your camera. Okay guys, we're going to get powered up here on the pack, and to do that we're just going over to the power button and we're going to push that in. So it runs a quick diagnostic, make sure that the head is connected and everything. And then we get into our main screen. And this is going to look pretty familiar if you've seen any of our other videos or you happen to have any other Strobepro or Godox lights. You're going to see standard things like your channel and your group over here. We've got our flash duration over here. We've got our beep that we can turn on and off. Our modeling lamp here, the beep is up there, battery level, and then the mode that we're in. So we're going to start going through some of these buttons here and get into these menus in depth. Like all our other Pro lights, this is no different in the fact that it is going to go all the way down to 1/256 of its power. So we can adjust that in 1/10 stops just by turning the dial. And I have to say, this is the most mechanical feeling dial that Godox has come out with yet. It just feels solid. There's solid click points as you go through, so you could feel exactly where you're at without even looking at that. Now I can adjust it in 1/10 increments here all the way up to 1/1, or through an optional controller what you can do is you can set it in third increments. Right from the pack here though, this is something different. If I want to adjust this in full stops, what I can do is push the dial down and then turn it. So you can see there, it's going in full stops all the way up to 1/1. So that's a quick way that you can adjust the power. Or again, if you want, just dial it with the actual click dial here. So we'll bring it back down in case we actually pop it off. We don't want to blind ourselves here. So a couple things here, the most important being the mode. Right now we're in manual mode, and if I push that again, we'll go over to multi-burst mode and then into TTL, and I'll show you those all in a second. Now if we are in manual mode, there is only 2 ways that we can trigger this, and the first being with a PC sync cable. And if we go over here to the port, you're going to find our USB-C connection there, and then on the other side you're going to see our 3.5mm PC sync port. So you could plug a cable into there and then into your camera, but this is definitely not the most efficient way, and you're going to be losing out on a lot of the features of this light. It's definitely worth purchasing the optional controller to be able to have full power control, TTL, and high-speed sync. Now there is another way that we can trigger this, which is optically. We have our optical slave built in right here. And like on all of our other lights, we can turn this on to S1. If I go into the menu button here, which is this 3-line button, and I go to slave, and then I can just dial it to S1 and back out. And now this light is looking for another flash to trigger it. So that can be a pop-up flash or another speed light, another strobe, it doesn't matter. As long as this is within line of sight, it's going to trigger. The other option there for triggering is S2, which is rarely used. So we can go to S2, and what that does is it ignores a pre-flash from like a TTL or a red eye reduction, but very rarely is that going to be used. The much better way to do this is just to use the controller, as I mentioned, which we'll get into in just a second. The next thing you're going to be concerned with is the modeling lamp, and we have a 40-watt modeling lamp built into this head now. So to activate it, just push the modeling lamp button, and we are in percentage mode. So what I can do from there is hold that button down for 3 seconds, and then I can adjust it all the way up to 100% or down, all the way down here. Let's go. We can go all the way down to 1%, which is really nice. So that's going to help you find focus. You can see where your modifiers are aiming, the shadows that they're casting, and having that 40 watt again is the most powerful we've ever had in one of our strobes. Now we have another mode here as well. If I push this again, now we're going into prop, and now the power of the modeling lamp is going to adjust when I adjust the power. So I'm going to just hold this down and go full stops here. And you can see the modeling lamp is getting much brighter, and that's going to activate the fan a little bit quicker as well on the head. So one thing to keep in mind that will draw more power. So if you don't need the modeling lamp on, then I recommend just turning it off, or you can just find where you need to aim your modifiers and then turn it off to save the battery power. Down here on the bottom right is our beep button. So normally when I test fire the flash over here with our test button, you're going to have that beep going off every time, which can get annoying. This thing recycles so fast that probably you don't even really need that. At full power, it only takes less than 2 seconds to fire off. In lower powers, it's almost instantaneous. So I can go to the beep button here, turn it off, and you'll see up on the top there, the on and off. And now when I fire it, so the beep, you can just decide if you want it on or off there. The next button is our group channel button. Now we're only going to use this if we're using an external controller. And the great thing about this is that we can use any of our Strobepro or Godox controllers all the way back to the XTM, our XT, we've got the X2T and the XT Pro. So those are all fully compatible with the AD1200 Pro. Now to change our group, which is indicated by A right there, we're just going to click through and we can go all the way down to E and select those groups. And if I want to change the channel, what we're going to do is hold this. The channel is going to highlight there, and we're just going to adjust this to whatever we want. So we've got 32 main channels, plus we'll have an ID feature in the custom functions menu, which I'll show you later. But for now, we're just going to set that to 1, and it'll automatically go away there, or we could push the set button to lock that in. Now, if you don't happen to see those on yours right away, that's because wireless is not turned on. We know wireless is on here because we have the symbol up top, but we could go to the wireless button here. And if we were just using like optical slave or a PC sync cable to trigger it, we would just turn the wireless off because we're not using it there. But most of the time you're going to want that on. Okay guys, I've grabbed a XT Pro here, and I'm just going to show you how to connect this. Now we have full controller videos on all of the controllers. So if you want to go in depth and see all of the menu functions and everything on the controller, be sure to check those out on the website. But for now, basically, we're just going to set the group and channel and show you how to connect this really quick. So the first thing that we want to do on our controller is match up our channel. It happens to already be on channel 1, but if it wasn't, what we would do is go over to the channel. So that's the zoom channel right there. I'm going to click that. Actually, I'm going to hold that, and you'll see the channel highlight up there. And then we're just going to adjust that to wherever we want. And again, Right now I just want to be on one. We've got 32 options there to select. Now we just want to select our group, and we do that on the XT Pro by just selecting the button here. So now I'm on the A group, but you can see that these two are not matched. Now I haven't hit the test button to send the signal to the pack to be able to receive that. So when I do that now, that fires and it sent that 1/32 power over to the head, and we're synced up and ready to go. So one thing to keep in mind with the controller, as always, is that it is always in control. So if I go over to the pack and adjust the power here, those settings are not going to be pushed back to my controller. So as soon as I hit the test button again, that's going to fire and send everything back. So just be aware of that when you're shooting on location and stuff. If someone goes and you ask them to adjust the power or whatever, make sure they know to do it on the controller. Most likely you've got the camera, so that's okay. But any adjustments on the pack are not going to be sent back to the controller. So from there we can just adjust our power whenever that's highlighted. So really easy again to do that. Now let's go over to TTL, and TTL is only available when you are using the controller because it needs to communicate with the camera to select a power for your exposure. So we're going to switch the mode here and do that just by pushing the mode button. So that's off. You can see that dotted line means that it's off. And then we go into TTL. So the nice thing about TTL is that even though it is like an automatic mode through the lens is what it stands for, you still have a little bit of control as well. So if you take a picture and you think, oh, that's underexposed, you can add a little bit of exposure compensation if you want. The way that you can do that is just go over here, just the same way we adjusted the power, and you can go up to 3 stops positive, or if you want to underexpose, you can go -3 stops as well. And you'll notice that it's not showing on the display of the pack there. That's because it is independent to the controller. Just be aware that it is adjusting in camera. When you're not using exposure compensation there, just make sure that you dial it back down to 0 so you don't have all of your shots that were underexposed. So another feature that you're going to need a controller for is high-speed sync. So you need to make sure that you select your specific camera brand. So if I've got a Canon, pick up the Canon controller because they have to be matched, otherwise high-speed sync will not work. Now, I'm not hooked up to a camera right now, but if I was, and I dialed my shutter speed over the native shutter speed of my camera, what's going to happen is that this is automatically going to kick into high-speed sync. But if it doesn't, it's really easy to turn on anyway. So you're just going to go over here to the sync button on your controller, and then you'll see high-speed sync pop up. And you would just make sure high-speed sync is enabled on the actual pack itself, just with the high-speed sync button over here. So again, that's only if your camera isn't doing it automatically. Make sure that you do that to enable high-speed sync all the way up to 1/8000th of a second. Another useful feature that you're going to have on the controller is the modeling lamp. And if I push MOD there, you're going to see that it turned on. Now we had previously set this on the percentage range there at 2%. So if I hold that down, again, I can adjust that up to wherever I want. Let's say I wanted to leave it set at 50%. I would just dial that in. Now I can just lock it in there. And now whenever I turn the modeling lamp on or off, it's going to turn it to 50%. One of the things in TTL is that you lose the proportional mode because you don't know the power range. So if I was actually in manual, then what I could do is I could actually switch my modeling lamp over to prop, and then every time I turn it on or off on the controller, it's going to go back to prop. But again, in TTL, so if I go back to TTL here, I don't have that mode enabled. So guys, on the Pro controller here, we can actually independently change the modeling lamps and turn them on and off. So if I don't have any group selected on my controller and I just hit the modeling lamp button, they all come on. I happen to have turned A off. So if I go to select A, then I can turn that one on and off just like that. So that's really nice if you've got multiple lights and you just want a certain modeling lamp on, you can do it quickly and easily that way. Now I'm going to switch back to manual here just to show you something, and I showed you before that this is adjusting in 1/10 increments, or if I hold it down it'll go in full stops. But you also have the ability to go in 1/3 increments if you don't want that fine tuning. And the way that I do that, it's different in every controller, but I would just go into the menu here, I would go down to step, and I would just change this to 128 right here. Or sorry, I would change it to 256, and then I can back out. And now when I adjust the power, I'm just going to go to change this to manual mode. Now when I adjust it, you see on the pack that it's going in 1/3 increments. And the only way to access that is through the controller. Natively, it's going to be defaulted just into 1/10 increments. Okay, so we've got one last mode here, and if I push the mode button, I can cycle to it, which is multi-mode. Now, you've heard me talk in other videos about multi-mode, and we do have other in-depth videos about it on the controllers. I'm just going to show you on the pack here. It's basically the exact same way you control it on the controller. But what this is going to allow you to do is shoot one frame with multiple exposures into that frame. So where this AD1200 Pro is going to come in really nice is using it outdoors, I would say, or for high-powered environments that you couldn't achieve the same results with a lower power flash. Because we have 1200 watt-seconds of power, this feature can actually be really useful here. So if we want to freeze a dancer on the stage or a BMX biker going off a jump and we want that sequence of trick in that one frame, this is a really cool way to do that. Now, don't confuse this with putting your camera in continuous high or continuous low and blasting off a whole bunch of shots. That is not what this is for at all. Again, it's one frame with multiple flash exposures in that single frame. Now, there's a whole way that we can calculate the proper times and hertz on this, and you can check in the manual. There's a little formula for it. But basically, we have a couple of controls here. So if I click the rotation dial, this is our time. So we can set this to wherever we want, click it again, and now we're controlling our hertz. Now we can set different power levels for this as well. But as I go up here, you see that once I got to, I think it was 1/16 power, it dialed it back down to 3 shots and 9 hertz. That's because the more power that you push into it, it can't fire as many flashes. So it's going to automatically adjust that. So again, just to show you that, let's go 10 shots and 13 hertz. And as I bring the power up, you can see it automatically knocked it back down. It's telling me, no, that's not going to work for what you're trying to do. So we're knocking it back down. So one of the things you should keep in mind with this, it makes the light hot. So if you're going to be shooting this continuously, just bursting off tons of frames here, you could see overheat protection pop up, and you'll see a thermometer come up on the screen. And that's just telling you that the head needs to cool down so you don't damage your light. Okay guys, let's get into some of the custom functions. We'll get out of multi-mode there, back into the main TTL. Now this is the 3-line button here. So we're going to click this, and you're going to see we're in version 1.0 because this is brand new. So you might be watching this 6 months or a year down the road, and we might be on version 2.3. We're always adding features and working with Godox to improve our products. So if you need to update the firmware, we've got the USB-C connection right there. Just go to our website and you can download the latest firmware to make sure that you've got the most current version. So we're going to start right at the top here, which is color. So normally this light is plus or minus 200 degrees Kelvin in the temperature scale. So that's pretty accurate as it is, but this thing goes a step further, and if you turn this to on by pushing the dial in, rotating it to on, now we are plus or minus 75 degrees Kelvin. Now that is really unheard of in a light this powerful. More powerful flash tubes are harder to control temperature-wise. So the ability to achieve that accuracy is really remarkable in this head system. So if you are trying to work in a really sensitive color environment, you've got that option there. One thing to keep in mind when I have the color accuracy mode enabled, you're automatically going to see this start to blink. And what that is reminding me is that when I adjust my power down, I need to go and dump the charge out of this. So if I don't, my power is going to be too much and I'm going to be overexposed on the next shot. So I need to go dump that and then we're ready to go. In our normal mode, that doesn't matter at all. So if I go in, turn it off, and just get back out here. Now when I dial it down, it doesn't matter. This has IGBT technology in it, so it's automatically dumping that charge internally and dissipating the energy, so you don't have to worry about that, only in the color stability mode. So earlier I showed you slave mode, so that's our S1 and S2 if we wanted to trigger it optically, and again, we want to use the controller. It's much more accurate and more reliable as well. Okay guys, the next one here is model, and if I bring in the light here just into frame, we're in continuous mode with the modeling lamp. So when I fire this, the modeling lamp stays on. If you're working in an environment and you don't want that modeling lamp to affect your exposure at all, what I can do is go to interval, and it's going to turn the modeling lamp off every time the flash fires. So now you can see it firing, and it turns the modeling lamp off. So if you want to protect that ambient, then just go into interval mode there and you won't have any effect at all on your shot. The next option is standby, so we can turn the pack to sleep automatically. So we can go from 120, or we can turn it off completely, 30, 60, 90, or 120, and that will automatically go to sleep to save you power. It's probably a good idea to leave that on somewhere, you know, in the 30 to 60 minute range if you're not going to be near it. Going on from there, we have our light, and this is the light on our LCD, so we can go 15 seconds, which would be normally what I would recommend to save power. We're leaving it on because we don't want it turning off on this video. Delay here, so we can set the millisecond sync, so if you wanted to trigger up with a specific trigger or camera, or you could actually fire in rear curtain sync this way as well if you needed to. So you can play around with the delay. Units, and then the next one, alt. We have a mask mode, and I'm not going to get into this, but basically you can use multiple flashes to work masking for you. Now the number of, we have 2, 3, and 4 alt, and then if we go under alt actually, we can set that from 1 to 2. Now, watch our videos on masking mode. I know that sounds complicated, what I just went through. 99.9% of you are never going to use that, so I'm just not going to spend too much time on it right now. This is LCD contrast. I don't think this really does too much. This is the LCD contrast on the actual screen here. I would just recommend leaving it on 0, where it is right now. This is ID, and remember before on the controller I told you if you have any interference on one of your 32 channels, you can go in and select an ID from 1 to 99, and that would prevent any interference at all. Now if you set it on here, you need to set it on the controller. So if you're not able to connect, you've probably accidentally forgot to change the ID. So just go in and either turn it off or make sure that the controller and the head system or the pack system are matched up. Here under step, normally you're going to leave this under 1/256 scale, but if you have an older controller and you prefer to use this decimal system, you can go to that 2.0, and what it's going to do is show you the power level in terms of a decimal, so we can go all the way up to 10 and all the way down to 2 on that, all the way on the bottom end. So normally I would just leave that in 256 because that's all of our controllers and everything by default these days. Reset, that is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to reset all of your settings. So if you screwed something up in here and you can't find what you did, then you can go to reset and start from the beginning. We have one more thing, and this is new. This is only unique to this light as of right now. And what it's doing is it's telling me that we have fired on this head. We've fired it 41 times. And high-speed sync, we've fired it 0 times. So if you're buying this used from someone and they say, oh yeah, I only used it for 1,000 shots, and you can see that they fired it for 20,000, then you know something's up. This is also a good way to know when your flash tube might need replacing, but you get such a long life, that's going to be like 200,000 kind of shots when you replace your shutter. You should probably replace your flash tube. So those are all the custom functions in there. Hopefully you've caught some of those, but if not, you can check them out in the actual manual as well. There you go, guys. Now you know everything about the Godox AD1200 Pro. This is a fully featured light with TTL high-speed sync and fits seamlessly into the Godox and Strobepro lineup. All of our controllers work perfectly with it, as well as our other lights, whether it's speed lights or strobes. They're going to fit right into your system, and it's going to accept all your Strobepro modifiers that you already have, so you're not going to have to purchase new additional modifiers or brackets. Guys, one thing I can't stress to you through video is just the quality feel of this. I think this is the best made product from Godox that we've ever seen. From the metal case to the rubber gaskets to even things as simple as like the cable here, which is flexible and soft so it's not going to kink up. We've got the padded handle underneath and just really innovative features like the pop-out handle and stuff on the battery. Plenty of cooling here. Like, this thing is rock solid, and once you get this in your hands and actually see it, you're going to be absolutely floored by the quality of this. Not only the quality, the price of it. Yes, it's a more expensive light in our lineup, but you are getting 1200 watt seconds, you're getting TTL high-speed sync, and the full X series compatibility. No one else in the industry is even able to compete with that. They don't have the TTL and everything that this does, or the backwards compatibility with the older lights that we have in the Godox system. So from the top brands, you're paying 3, maybe 4 times as much, even more actually, to get something even remotely comparable. So at the price that this is, I think it's an absolute steal. And if you're in the industry and needing a product like this that's giving you 1200 watt seconds of power, you know what a bargain that this is. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. You get the bag that comes with it, which is absolutely amazing on its own. We've got the head, we've got the pack system here with the battery. It's just a really well integrated system, and I think you're really going to love it. Check out all the firmware updates, all the manuals and everything on this on strobepro.com. And until next time, I'm Jesse.